There are people who impress you. And then there are people who scare you. Not because they're dangerous, but because they are so consistent, so disciplined, that you can't even understand how they exist. While the world sleeps, they keep working. When others say, "I don't have time," they've already finished a masterpiece. This is a story about one of those people. Her name was Lena. Lena lived in a small apartment in Florence, surrounded by half-finished paintings, cold coffee cups, and walls covered in sticky notes that said, "Tomorrow." She had dreams, big ones, but she could never finish what she started. Every project, every plan, ended halfway. Every spark of inspiration died before it became fire. She thought maybe she wasn't talented enough, but deep down, she knew the truth. Her problem wasn't talent. It was inconsistency. She would paint for 3 days straight, then stop for 2 weeks, start again, stop again, and every time she quit, she hated herself a little more. Until one night, as she scrolled through her phone, she found an article about Japanese monks who practiced something called Gyoji. It meant practice without gaps. For decades, these monks performed the same rituals every single day, not out of willpower, but because it became who they were. Lena paused and thought, what if I lived like that? The next morning, she made a promise to herself. 90 days. Paint every morning at 5 a.m. No excuses. But this time, she wouldn't keep it a secret. She wrote it on a large piece of paper. I am the person who paints every morning at 5 a.m. for 90 days. She signed it, taped it to the wall, and posted it online. Her friends laughed. You're taking this too seriously, Lena. But those laughs became her fire. Because now, quitting wasn't private anymore. If she failed, everyone would know. And that, she could not allow. Days turned into weeks. The routine began to shape her life. Her mornings were quiet, her mind steady. But then came day 43. It was raining, cold, dark. She hadn't slept well. She sat in front of the blank canvas and thought, just today, maybe I can skip. But then, she looked in the mirror. She saw the same eyes that had promised and broken 1,000 times before. She whispered to herself, if I only paint when I feel like it. That's not discipline. That's preference. So she picked up the brush. The first stroke trembled. The second was steadier. By the 10th, she was lost in the painting again. When she finished, she didn't cry. She just smiled. Because she realized, the greatest victory in life is winning against yourself. 3 months later, something strange happened. Lena no longer needed an alarm clock. Her body woke up on its own. Her hands reached for the brush automatically. There was no struggle, no effort, just movement. Discipline had become natural. People called it dedication, but to her, it felt like freedom. At a small art exhibition, someone asked, how do you stay so consistent? Lena smiled. I'm not consistent, she said. I just don't know how to stop anymore. That's when she understood. Discipline isn't a cage. It's the key that unlocks freedom. Years passed. Her paintings began to gain quiet attention. Not because they were perfect, but because they were alive. Still, people whispered behind her back. She's obsessed. She takes it too far. But Lena only smiled. Because she knew. They were afraid of what they didn't understand. They feared the kind of person who doesn't need motivation, who doesn't negotiate with feelings, who doesn't wait for inspiration to begin. They called it madness. But that same madness had built every masterpiece, every invention, and every free soul the world has ever known. Lena never became famous. But one day, When she put down her brush, she smiled quietly, because she knew strength isn't doing extraordinary things. It's doing ordinary things extraordinarily well, again and again. And when your discipline starts to scare people, that's when you know you've finally become free. Soft piano begins to fade in. If this story made you pause for a moment, maybe there's an Elena inside you too, waiting to wake up. Start today. Don't aim for perfect. Just aim for unbreakable. And remember, the world doesn't need more people who start. It needs those who simply never stop.